Okay. All right.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Beer There Drunk That, your favorite podcast made up of professional breeze shooters and amateur beer drinkers.
I love that, Donnie. That's a great description.
Might be the new Instagram
I
bio.
think we go around and share what
Yeah,
we're
I like it.
drinking. I honestly, it's phenomenal. So I'll start. So I have a classic Guinness. Because as this episode is airing, we are going to be in the month of March officially. But the special thing about this Guinness is the can. So this is a New York Guinness. And what they do is they give money back from each of these special cannings that they do to local community groups and things like that. And it's a cool can. So that's my 2 cents.
Can you keep that can for me for when
I have a I have a 6 pack that I got, so I will even give you a beer. I'll go further, let you
Yes.
drink the beer that's in there.
Tastes like rats.
Awesome.
Hey, the rats don't run this city. We do.
Yeah.
Luke, what are you drinking?
I am drinking the other half cream of broccoli double dry hopped imperial oat cream IPA,
At
which
least it's
is
not a long name.
it should be abbreviated or something, but I was accosted by by the other half representative, I guess you would say, who was stocking the shelves in the fridge in Wegmans. And he goes, "Hey man, I could tell you're looking for something. Why don't you grab this?" I said, "Sure."
So this is our
Never
broccoli beer.
never would
Yes,
have
yeah.
grabbed it if I knew I would have to read an entire paragraph just to get the name.
Yeah. All right. Well, in honor of National Pistachio Day, I'm drinking a pistachio cream ale from Indeed Brewing Company here, right here in Milwaukee. They just announced that they're coming out with coffee pistachio cream ale as of today. So I'll be sure to
Hell
try
yeah.
that when I'm there on Thursday for trivia. And they just had actually a coconut macaroon pistachio cream ale come out that was really good.
Damn.
So
So they're killing the
with
game.
multiple of
Oh,
these, it kind of sounds like there's a decent following or like a decent fan base for that kind of flavor.
Yeah, the pistachio cream ale is like their flagship beer. It's really good. It's like kind of a cult classic around here.
That
that's
sounds
solid.
so interesting.
All right,
Cult classic.
let's get to cracking these
So,
boys.
cheers,
Cheers,
fellas.
fellas.
Cheers.
There it is, Keegan.
Oh, Keegan, that was a great that was a great sound you got out of that one.
That was a toot
I went I went right by the mic, and I feel like that's the way to do it.
for sure.
Well, with my crappy
All right.
headset, which I got to buy a different one, if I in order to pick it up, I'd have to stick the mic into the beer itself. So
We don't have taste of vision yet. That's next technology that we're investing in. I've got us invested in multiple startups, guys. All of our profits.
yeah, we've made
That's
so
how we
much
make
money
money.
off of this.
That's how we
Yeah.
can afford this beer.
Yeah. All right. What were your thoughts on Belgian beer, boys? I
Mm.
know Keegan, you'd never
I
explored it before, but I saw some tasting notes that were promising.
yes, I very much enjoyed these beers. Yeah, like just I really did. Do you want me to hop right into my first one?
Yeah, go for it.
Sounds
Are
good.
we okay? Well, my beer is settling anyway too, so I gotta talk first. So I can't drink yet. The first one I'll start with is this is called Delirium Tremens. So for any of my medically inclined friends, we know that that's actually a medical complication of alcoholism. So it's kind of ironic that they named the beer that. However, I
Don't
was
you have
drawn to it
that?
because of the.
Yeah,
I don't, which is very good news because that's like
he's working his
serious,
way
like.
there.
Yeah.
I was drawn to it because of the elephant. I like the can, and so this is actually it's brewed in Belgium at the it's I'm gonna horribly mispronounce this, but it's like the Hoye Brewery, Huyghhe is how it's spelled. Horribly mispronounced. I apologize to our Belgian friends, but um, it's an 8.5% beer, and it's they on the can list the recommended serving temperature at 41 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit, which I found very interesting that they listed the serving temperature. Um, pouring it out, you'll see it on the first sips, but like just this great golden color, clear, just like what you think of when you think of a beer is this like clear, perfect picture. I really enjoyed it. Super light, very smooth. The dry bitterness kind of sits in there a little bit longer. And fun fact, it's actually one of the most rewarded beers in the world. It on the can says elected as the best beer in the world.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'd go that far. It wasn't like the best beer I've ever had in my life, but it was a good beer. They have like multiple medals at the London beer competition, the Frankfurt beer competition, so they are well traveled.
It's
So I
interesting when
guess
they
getting
make
away from
clams on
our,
cans like that because, like, have you guys ever had a Montucky cold snack?
I haven't.
No.
It's it is the official beer of Montana. Um,
Oh,
hence the name. It's brewed here in Milwaukee. It's just like a generic like light beer that or like it's like a PBR type beer with a horse on it. But it's the official beer of Montana
the
apparently,
official
even
beer
though
of
they don't make
Montana.
it there.
Well, isn't
So
the blue ribbon on PBR like they've touted that they had that ribbon or they had that award, whatever that meant, for years and years, but it had nothing to do when they originally got it with the taste of the beer at all.
No, exactly. I don't know the story entirely, but it's something along those lines. When I do the Pabst tour later this year, I'll definitely report back on it.
you'll have to
Yeah,
keep us
please.
updated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave this beer a 4.0 on Untapped. I thought it was again a good beer. Definitely, even though it's 8.5%, it felt crushable. Because it's just very light. So 10 out of 10 would drink again.
Sweet.
That's interesting that you say it's like it it's light and crushable, with
It,
something that boozy.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know. It was really interesting because I was expecting something heavier, like that's just gonna kind of give you a good punch, but um I didn't think it did. I thought it was just kind of very smooth, very light. So I would recommend.
I guess that can make that can make a higher ABV beer a little more dangerous when you don't
Uh-huh.
realize just how crushable it is, and you go through a six pack and you're feeling pretty toasty.
Yeah, yeah. That's why, yeah, it's a good thing I only got one.
Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't have made it to work.
Yeah. No, luckily I didn't have to drink anywhere near work. I made sure to space it out with good
Yeah,
space between when I was trying them and work. So
you
Yeah.
gave
yeah,
it a wide berth.
exactly, exactly.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
What do you got, Luke?
So the first one that I had was really really good. That was the it's brewery Omegang, which is based out of Cooperstown, New York. And they do a ton of Belgian style brews, and so this is the Three Philosophers, which is a blend of quad ale and a Belgian Creek with cherries, which is sort of a Flemish fruited sour that's paired with it in this beer, which I thought was really, really interesting. Um, I've not been to this brewery before, but I've had a couple of their beers. Like I've had their wit, which is one of their pretty basic beers, but it's pretty good. Um, it was rich, malty. It had a smooth finish that was really, really nice, and the cherry that they advertised was by no means overwhelming, which I've definitely had in a beer before, where I know when they're like underlining an ingredient in the beer that's probably going to overwhelm everything else. But this didn't do it. It was just a really, really well blended, tasty beer, which I got most of that cherry and like the aftertaste. Very drinkable, 9.7 percenter. Um,
Mm.
I would probably get it again, but this is a style that I always forget about, but I'm pleasantly surprised every time I revisit.
Yeah, that's
Luke,
usually
we're gonna
something that I like to try. Like, I'll try it at a brewery, but it's never something like that I'm gonna go out and buy like a 4 or 6 pack to have at home.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was in Dallas, I went to this place called Manhattan Project, which was really cool. And the bartender, like she just kept slugging me, like she's just like, try this, try this, try this. I'm like, I didn't even ask, like, what are you giving me? Um, but anyway, she gave me their Belgian, and it was really, really good. It was the same type of thing. It was like, I get all the notes you're saying here. Like, I can't remember any specifics about it, but it was good. It was strong. But again, it's like, I'm glad I tried it there. Don't think I'm gonna go out and buy them like casually to drink, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke, we're gonna have to get you up to Omegang. I went with Caitlin a couple years ago, a few years ago. Their brewery's awesome. It's awesome. Like it the part that I'm remembering, it's like this almost arched gate that literally looks like you're walking to like a castle, and then there's like the brewery itself behind it. It's dope, and their food is good. Beer, I mean, I honestly I haven't had an Omegang beer that I didn't like. I have ones that I liked more.
Mhm.
Um, but it's definitely like one of their one of my top ones just for the name alone is the Noma Gang. So it's just a bunch of gnomes
Yes,
on the outside of the cans. So
I did
uh
see that. I thought when I was going through Beers of the World, like going through the aisles, that I would probably revisit that one at some point,
yes,
give that one a
definitely
shot. But
recommend. Definitely recommend. Yeah, we'll have to get up to Omegang at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it's in Cooperstown, so I'm always down to go, Keegan.
I mean it's like Maryland, you know, baseball and beer. That's what Cooperstown does.
Yeah.
Not to forget the Cooperstown distillery too.
Yeah, it's like four things to do in that town. And
Hmm.
it is between baseball and beer.
Yeah, it's yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Donnie, what do you got for us?
all right, I got the Chimay Paris Trappistes Grand Reserve. Came in this cute little bottle. It's from Europe. It's built bottled in Belgium. Uh, Imported by Global Beer Network in Middleton, Mass. Um,
Oh,
yeah, I know. So this is it's a 9% just Belgian ale. It's like a dark Belgian ale. So like you guys talk like Keegan, you talked about yours being like very golden. This you'll see it in the first sips video. It's a lot darker and maltier. This is like a good like you have that beer. It probably does taste better served a little warmer. It's just a nice beer to like sit there and sip on. It's got almost like it just feels like something regal to drink. The bottle is cool.
mm.
It's called the
Makes you
Grand
feel like a
Reserve.
king.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like it's got that malty sweetness that you get from a lot of those like those middling dark beers, like not quite the stout type darkness, but in the middle range there. Um and yeah, like I said, I give this a 3.75 out of 5. It was good. It's not an everyday beer for me by any means. But like if I'm sitting down, like if we were just sitting around hanging out, like playing cards or something like that, like this would be a good beer to like have a sip on.
so it's funny that you mentioned that, because what I find a lot of times with this kind of style, and specifically with quads, which are oftentimes like a deeper, like heavier um alcohol content, uh I enjoy sitting around, relaxing, and smoking a cigar while I'm sipping on it.
Exactly. That's
There
this
you
is
go.
this is what it would be good for. It's like a cigar beer, like
In
it's almost got
fact,
like a reddish hue to it too.
oh yeah, like a
Mm.
like reddish brown
Yeah.
is some of the notes that I've seen definitely out there. Um, Also, I have very fond memories of drinking this style in Canada, where my family and I go every year. We rent cottages up there. Um, it's a in Christie Lake, right along the water, just the most relaxing place you could ever think of. And us guys do tasting beers, and we all bring a ton of them. That's kind of it's gradually making our way to a drunken stupor by the end of by the end of the day, and it's just a magical, wonderful feeling that would kind of earn you a ticket into a support group back home. But on vacation, it's acceptable.
There is nothing in the world that's more dangerous than hosting Luke as a guest and having him come in with his little suitcase and goes, "Guys, I brought tasting beer," because then you are drinking a lot of beer for a long period of time. And I think there's a lot of people that I can attest to accidentally getting drunk thanks to Luke.
That
It's a
I
it's
feel like
just
that's
oh
what got me into getting drunk was just Luke's like purest joy in life is just playing bartender.
yep,
Yes.
Like Luke,
yep,
like there's a
yep.
reason why he records this podcast from behind a bar. You know, he
Yeah,
loves to just sit there
absolutely.
and
It's his natural environment.
yeah.
I
Despite
I
that, he
re-
has a college degree.
yeah.
Exactly.
Somehow I crawled by, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, my parents would host parties, and so of course they have the bar in the finished basement and that. And so we have all of our friends over, my sister and and I would ask my dad if I could have a soda bar, like a pop bar. And so I would have different drink requests and stuff that people could make, and I was just little did I know I was turning all of us children into functioning alcoholics eventually.
And what's the keyword there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not surprised at all. If yeah, most people run a lemonade stand. Luke ran a soda bar. Oh God, yeah. I mean, like I don't know. I feel like every time I've been somewhere with Luke, there's just a tasting bar that follows.
I remember
And
when
it's not just beer either. Like he'll be like, "Here, try a shot of this liquor. Like it's great. Just give it a
it tastes
try."
like Fruit Loops. No, I remember when you had the graduation party at your house at your Caitlin's house in college, Luke. Like you did
Yep.
a tasting for all of her family of every Jenny beer you could find.
Yep.
Yeah, I was pulling out like this was
We were drinking 12 horse that day.
It was
yeah,
a
there
deep
was
cut.
I had 12 horse, they're dry hopped, the Schwarz beer that I had left over from probably 2 years back, and I
Aged.
yeah, aged. Yep,
Aluminum
finally aged.
aged. No,
Gosh.
it's amazing stuff, you know. It is like it is fun to go and like, you know, as much as I find myself more and more like going to places and just ordering one beer, there is something about sitting around with a flight and just trying a whole bunch of stuff at once.
Mm. Honestly, like I did that
Well,
recently at the I was in Boston for a Celtics game in the Beanpot and went to the Sam Adams tap room, like right by Faneuil Hall. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Like you
that
sit
is
down, you get whatever 5 beers, and you go through them, and they're phenomenal. They're great beers.
Yeah, I gotta get out. I went the other day to the Line and Kugel's Barrel Yard, which is the brewery in the Milwaukee Brewers Stadium. We went for a tour there where they gave you free beer before and
I
after.
saw you found the kegs too.
Yeah, we found the kegs in the basement of the stadium. It was just like we walked in from the bullpen and there was just a stack of kegs. But
you're
anyway, what were you gonna say, Luke?
no, I was gonna say you're like, can we take these? Are
They
these
were
up for
empty.
grabs?
I'll fill them myself.
Yeah.
But no, but they do the thing there is like Line of Kugels is a big brand, but they do this as like a pilot brewery. So they make a lot of new beers there. So like that day
Mm.
they had just come out with a cranberry oatmeal stout. Cranberries are a very weak flavor though, so it really didn't taste a
Hmm.
lot like cranberry. Like it didn't work well with the stout. Like it was just like, well, this is an oatmeal stout, and I guess I taste a little bit of cranberry at the end. Um,
That's weird. Yeah, I don't know that I've heard. I mean, I've heard of raspberry and strawberry before, but cranberry is a new one.
yeah, but anyway, they do right now they're doing because it's the off season, they're doing like half off pilot brew flights that they're curating. So
Wow.
it's like $5 for a flight. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like
Milwaukee does it different.
it's
Milwaukee
built.
does it different.
Yeah, but it's really cool, you know. It's like I was like, man, like I know I have a ticket for just like a free pint, but like it would be nice to just like get one of those flights. And when they like I like places who do flights good, like in terms of how you present it. Like there's like a little like it's like a sticky note pad at your table with a pen,
Mm.
and you just write, you write your 4 beers on it, pull it off, hand it to the bartender. You
Well,
know?
a good
I like that.
brewery doesn't just have. Well, I'll say it like this: a good brewery has a shtick, right? It's got something that sets it apart, even if it's similar between breweries, like spread out. I can still respect it if it knows what it is, right? So if it's going to present a flight in a really interesting and unique way, that's going to stick with me. I'm going to want to go back, you know?
I like that. I like that. Now, this isn't our question of the week this week, but I do have a question for you guys, and I'm interested to hear the answer. When you do a flight, so you got 5 beers lined up across, okay? I'll tell you how I do it. All right, I go 1 beer at a time, so as to not mix flavors. I get a lot of slack for that. How do you guys do your flights?
Yeah. So I, the
Now,
majority of the time, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say my only question off that is, do you just start at one end and go from the other, just right
Yeah,
off the way?
I
You
go.
say
I
this.
go. I usually go left to right, just like I'm reading.
Because I've been to a meadery before that does like they do curated flights, and the thing there is they have them set from light to dark, and they're like that's how we recommend you drink it,
That
Oh,
so
which is
that's
smart.
exactly how my dad and I go about it, where
Mhm.
we excuse me. Where we'll start with the lighter stuff and go to the darker stuff. But so what I was going to say is the majority of the time I will start with one thing and then go around based on that. I have definitely done it before where I've gone around, but to your point, then then you're kind of mixing the flavors, and I really want to taste everything separately.
that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
I do an initial sip of every beer, so I try them all. I try them all four, and then I kind of make a mental ranking, and then I go like, all right, this is the worst beer. I'm gonna drink it first. I'm gonna get it out of the way.
Oh, I
And
like
then
So
that.
that's
so you go 4, 2, 3, 1. So you go the worst beer. Like there's usually one that stands out. You're like, I don't love this. Like when I had that smoked chili beer,
Oh
no
that
gosh.
was the
shot.
first one down.
First one down. Took a long time to get down, but it was first one down. And it kind of ruined the flight because I was like, I would do like a big gulp of that, and then I just take like micro sips of like something better to like flush the taste out. But anyway, so I do that, do the worst beer. Then you do your second favorite, so you go to something that you like. You say this, I'm not gonna waste my first, like ruin that flavor profile from going the worst to first. So I'll, clear my palate a little bit. I'll go the second. Then you do the third beer on your rankings. You're like, I don't like this one as much. But I know after I get through this, I can drink my favorite one.
That
Donnie,
is
that's
such a cool way to go
Because
about
it
that.
like
that's like a cerebral way to drink beer.
I've been
It's
doing this for
phenomenal.
a while. Like it's one of those things that I think it took me a while to figure it out, and sometimes you may get to the end of a beer and you're like, wow, I really didn't love that as much as I thought by the end of it. Or maybe it grows on you. But for me, it's about like you want your tasting to end on a good note, like
Hmm.
quite literally you don't want to end with a bad taste in your mouth.
I
That's
Because then it's like okay, what if it's your last one for the night and you like can't go back up to the bar and be like, all right, I need this, I need to have another beer.
I've definitely screwed myself over with that because I tend to end on stouts, and those are the ones I have my hopes are set kind of high, or my standards are a little high for stouts, and so if it's a little weaker, I am definitely left disappointed. And that being my last thought is not how I want to end a time at a brewery.
But also in that case, Luke, like because stouts are generally more of your favorites, it could end on a really high high if it's the right one. So you're like
It
you're
that
rolling
happens more
dice.
often for sure.
Yeah.
all right. Well,
It's a
Luke, I'm glad
gamble.
to hear I'm not alone because it's a gamble. Luke's a gambler,
Yeah.
in the truest Kenny Rogers sense of the word.
Yeah.
He's a gambler.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, because like I'll without trying the other ones. So I usually go. I shouldn't say I usually go lightest to dark. Usually I go left to right. So whatever order they put them in, I'm like, all right, let's do it. Um,
the only issue I
but
have with that is because sometimes they'll just put them in the order that you say them as you're like rambling it off, and you can
mhm,
really just be like, wow, this is just
it can be a
like
mess.
Oh, that brings up another question though. How do you guys pick which beer you're going to feature? Like, is it a split decision, or are you putting a lot of thought and time and effort into it?
I
Donnie, all you
think
first.
I think I like to. I usually try and get at least one beer that I am like I would never order a full pint of this like off the cuff. but it's like I want it's something that I want to try, and it's going to be fun and funky, it's you get usually 4 or 5, some places 3. So I always try and go with at least one fun one. I try and get like one that I haven't had before, but it's something that I can like I know I can, you know, assume is going to be okay. Whether it be just like a generic ale, lager, pilsner, and then, and then from there it's usually 1 or 2 more funky beers. Like I said, like the smoked chili beer was like my one for that. I'm like, this is gonna overpower everything else. You know, or
Yeah.
like I remember we went to this place in Oconomowoc, Milwaukee, or not Milwaukee, Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, called Steel Tank, and it's all like a military themed brewery, and you actually got your flight in like an ammo box.
Oh,
Oh,
It
that's
was
wow.
really
it
cool.
was pretty cool. Like,
That's so cool.
but I had this one. It was just like this, like it was like this it was like this orange guava sour or something like that, passion fruit guava, and it was just like fruit juice. It was freaking amazing, and that was my crazy beer. It was good. It was
It,
genuinely good.
There's the
it sounds
gamble.
like it could be enticing. There's the gamble. Yeah.
But
No,
again,
for
as
me,
my tasting,
yeah.
it's all calculated.
So you're very cerebral with the way you approach beer, Donnie. I appreciate that about you. That's what I appreciate about you. Um,
Love you
as,
too.
as for me, um, I typically a lot of it's based on name for me. So, like for example, when I went to the Sam Adams, the tap room there, a lot of them just have really interesting names, and I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. I know I like my IPA, so I always kind of look out for those styles that I like. But sometimes they have an interesting twist on them. Like me, honestly, I enjoy a milkshake IPA. And so
Mhm.
whenever I see that on the board, typically that's a go for me.
No
Um,
lactose.
no lactose.
No
Donnie
lactose in my
is
beers.
doesn't mess with it.
No, no milk.
Um, yeah, so a lot of it comes down to the names. I mean, if I'm like struggling, usually I don't struggle for the last beer. If there's a last beer one and I don't know what to get, I kind of look at the highest ABV and I'm like, let's see what that tastes like. Um, because it's not like you're going for it to get a buzz. I just want to know what that high of an ABV might taste like in that style beer, and generally it works out well for me. I've haven't had too many bad experiences with flights, so maybe that
Yeah.
means I got to do more.
Yeah,
How about you,
that's
Luke?
exactly what that means.
Yeah, Luke, tell us yours, and then we're gonna take a quick break.
So for me, it's I kind of let my brain take over when I first get into a brewery where it's like I'm in explorer mode. I'm going to look around. I want to see everything that's on the walls. I want to see like the if I can see any history about the place and that, to the point where my legs just carry me up to the bar when I go to put in my order for the flight. I look up sometimes and oftentimes actually for the first time right as I'm standing there and ordering. And so my gut takes over and I do like really quick scans and I'll go like I'll have 10, 4, 5, and 11.
And it
And
turns
then
out
And you
they
like
just
only
I'll
have
rip them
10
off.
taps.
yeah, right. Do you want us just to make up something for the 11th? And it's
A
just
little bit
like
of everything.
it's just Bud Light. It's just- they take it
Warm.
out of the fridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hot. Um,
I like that. So Luke, you're like a cartoon character. You just kind of float to the bar, and then it just happens.
That's
yeah, like when they
exactly it.
smell a pie in the old time cartoons.
Exactly, exactly. The aroma just kind of carries them.
I trust my gut.
I like that. I like that.
Well, that was our flight chat, everyone. And
I
when we
know.
get back, Luke's gonna rip his second beer review.
Yes, sir.
He's gonna grip it and
Sounds
grip it.
good.
Welcome back to Beer There Drunk That. I don't have a clever quip right now, but Luke is gonna review his second beer of the week.
All right. So my second one here is Westmail Trappist Double, which is a Belgian Trappist brewery, which I feel like I kind of feel like I'm sounding like I'm trying to be politically correct and saying Belgian Trappist. Like like they're not monks, they're Belgian Trappists, but no, but
It's monk beer.
yeah, but
It's monk beer.
It
Yeah.
is. That's what Trappists are. They're monks.
Oh yeah.
I love
And they're
that.
like
I
made
love
like
that.
most of this stuff like the one I had earlier is made in like a monastery.
But
So hold on. So monks, like they can't what they don't get married, they don't have kids, but they can brew beer.
Yeah.
oh yeah, and they're
That's
very
quite
it's like very
interesting.
strict what they can do with the proceeds from it.
Mm-hmm.
I,
That's like the whole
this
big
is
thing with it.
this is just opening up a whole new world to me. Wow.
Oh yeah, man.
All right. Sorry, Luke.
You can you can take or leave the style, but the but the act of monks brewing your beer is a pretty freaking cool
That's
concept.
unreal.
What I liked about this beer, which I'll show, is it wasn't showy. Like it's a very simple. It's known what it is. Or like it knows what it does for people, and it's known that since the 1800s. So it doesn't have to change because it has a following obviously over there. Um, but and while I respect this style and its age, I think I've kind of been spoiled in many ways by the American dream, and that dream being like kind of taking these centuries old beer styles and bastardizing it and letting that monster run wild in the American prairie and just kind of letting it
Just a
roam.
bunch of guys in Pennsylvania just with a bunch of
Yeah.
hops.
Well,
I
because
mean, what
I,
what
I
else
just
what else are we good at as Americans besides taking things and making them our own?
yeah, right. Exactly. Well, so it's funny because you look at the difference between these two. I mean, I'm bad with camera angles and that. Like you have one that's like really showy and one that's super simplistic, and it shows also in the taste. Like again, I this so this is a like malt heavy, deep flavored, and this is just a double, right? So it's I know I shouldn't technically be comparing a quad and a double, but there are comparisons to be made, I think. Um, oh, I also thought it would be funny to note that I got legitimately notes of raisin from this beer.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
but yeah, it finishes a little dry, possibly a little tart, but not overwhelming, and it's just it was a little simple, and I definitely feel like I've been spoiled.
All right. I like that. I you've enticed me. I want to try the beer now. So, um, that was yeah. Wow. Raisin though. That wasn't like
No,
off-putting, or you just kind of
no,
go with
not at
it.
all. Which I'll tell you guys this story at some other point from my Beers of the World class that I took in college, where kid kept just saying raisin over and over and over again. It's like you can't possibly not in everything.
Donnie, do you want to show your second one off?
Sure. So I got a beer from a brewery that's near and dear to my heart. It's from Allagash Brewing. It's their Allagash Tripel, is what it's called. It's a Belgian style ale. It's a 9%er. Um, this was phenomenal. This was a great beer. I actually had to decide between this version of it and they also do a barrel aged version. Um, and this is the classic like Belgian triple that you think of, where it's just like it's a light color. It's like it's strong in the alcohol. Like you drink one, you're like that was definitely 9%. But again, kind of crushable. Like I could have a couple of those, and I would be like, wow, I'm screwed. But boy, was it fun. And it had that like it had like a very general like fruity note on it. And I think it kind of finished almost like a wine. Like you talked about that dryness, Keegan. Like
Hmm.
it had that wine property of like you're like, I just had liquid, but it wasn't refreshing, but it was still really good.
Sticks on the
Okay.
tongue a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it was you know, it's one of those like if you like beery notes, it says it has notes of passion fruit and honey in it. And I definitely get the honey. It has that like mild kind of like natural non-processed sweetness. Um, but yeah, no, I would definitely recommend this beer. I'd give this a 4, maybe a 4.25. And I love Allagash beers. They do a lot of really good stuff. You've probably had Allagash White, which is technically a Belgian white ale or whatever.
Oh, I actually didn't know it was considered a Belgian white.
Yeah, I
That
mean
one,
it's
it's a
like same thing.
classic.
Yeah, it's like a Blue Moon.
Okay.
I
Okay.
like it a little more than Blue Moon, but again, it's from Maine, and
Very
that's why.
comparable. Yeah, for
And
sure.
and actually, it's kind of cool how far the reach is for Allagash White. Like I feel like it has a decent distribution size there.
Yeah, I can find it in a lot of places out here. And I know like a lot of people out here. Like I was at my friend had like a party on like her apartment, like communal patio, and like a couple other people she knew that lived in the building were there. And then like I had an Allagash White, and then like this girl also pulled one out. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm drinking this too." I'm like, "Do you know like where it's from?" She's like, "No, it just looked fun."
I always do. I always know I'm gonna like the bar when I walk in, and the two handles that I need to see, a Guinness and an Allagash. And luckily, they're two pretty common beers to see, so that's why I don't have a problem with most bars. But if I see those two handles, I'm like, all right, I know I got something to drink.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like their beers. When I was home for the winter, I had a bunch of other stuff from them. Because it's close. The one thing I couldn't find, they had like a winter beer, and it's sold out literally everywhere. It was just insane, and I could never find it. So maybe I'm just gonna have to do like some mail orders next year.
Yeah, I gotta get it in time.
Yeah.
Might be worth it.
What about you, Keegan?
All right. So my second one, it honestly was unexpected. So this is called a Mai. And it is what it says. It's a Belgian strong
Yep.
from. This is from Warwick, New York. On the can, it says biscuit malt and Belgian candy as two of the ingredients in here.
Ooh.
And also on the can, you'll see it says dirt rich, which I again found interesting. This is a 10.8% beer. And when I poured it out, I was very surprised because when I poured it out, it looked like I had poured a stout. And I was like, especially the contrast between my two beers was really, I think, what threw me off the most because after having the delirium tremens, I was like, oh, this will probably be a lighter color too. No, this thing was like, it was a stout or a porter. And that's kind of what it drank like too. And so, as someone who obviously with my Guinness in hand, likes my darker beers. I really enjoyed this beer. It was again, it was smooth, kind of in that porter manner. So it was a little bit lighter, like it wasn't super heavy. Definitely, we'll say a moreish beer, right, Luke?
Yeah.
Um, so it was definitely something that I wouldn't just drink a ton of. Um, yeah, I mean, it had that smoothness, that like, and again, this is me kind of being a novice at like kind of noticing the flavors, but almost like that cocoa coffee kind of finish to it, which I really enjoyed. I gave this a 4.25 on Untapped, and I have now found a brewery that I have the goal of getting to. It's only about an hour and a half from New York, about an hour and a half northwest of here. So um, I definitely got to get there. So I would highly, highly recommend this beer, Amai. And I'm sorry, and that's Drowned Lands Brewery. I don't know if I
Wait,
mentioned that, but
what were the flavors or like the notes that it had highlighted?
yeah. So what they list is Saaz, biscuit malt, and Belgian candy.
Okay, that sounds so cool.
Interesting.
It was a great beer. Like of the beers that we've tried on this podcast. So I mean, I guess that's only four beers in total for me. Um, but but of the four beers that I've tried so far for this podcast, um, it's probably my favorite. I just, yeah, I would highly, highly recommend it.
So which of the beer tiers would you put that in? Would you
Oh
put that
yes, I
in? I
forgot about
would
our beer tiers.
like I've been working on this. Like, so was this I think the top tiers, like, is the top tier would introduce this beer to my family? Have we decided
Yeah,
that that's the
I'm
one?
bringing
I think
this.
so.
This beer is coming to family parties. Like
Like,
it's going to a wedding. Yeah, this
yeah,
beer is
you're
coming
asking for
with
the
me.
plus one to the like. Okay, because
Absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
I think the next one, it sounds like I'm still working on the middle tiers, but I have Daily Driver in there. Like a beer you could drink every day. You know,
Okay,
Oh,
it's like old reliable.
yeah.
Um, and then
So I mean,
like
let me go back. Hold on, hold on. Now I got to think about the tier for the delirium tremens. I mean, Like that beer, it's kind of like it's like you'd invite them to your house for dinner every Tuesday kind of thing. Like it's a
Oh,
if you wanted to have it every day, it's close enough that you could, but maybe not get the invite to the wedding, right? It's like a mid-high tier.
Okay. Well, again, we'll have to workshop this more, because then I
We
have
definitely do.
like, because I feel like there should be some between like daily driver and then I have free beer only,
Yeah,
because it's like,
we need some area, some
because
gray
like,
space in there.
because like a free beer only is like to me that's not horrible. It's like a beer where you're gonna get like if you get it for free, you're like this is awesome, but you're never gonna go buy it for yourself.
Hmm.
Like right now, I'm drinking another Indeed beer. It's called the Flavor Wave IPA, guys. I'm on the train now. Um, I most
yes, he's
and
coming over.
and it's got a fun can, um,
Well,
on
that
it.
is
Absolutely.
But it's I got this beer for free because we play trivia every week at Indeed, and they like if you win, you get a free 12 pack or two free 6 packs, and so like we've won like it's to the point where like we usually end up going home with beer because there's been like three other teams at most the past couple weeks at trivia, and
Donnie,
it's
don't sell yourself short though. You're a trivia whiz.
Sophie and I do very well. I think for our age, for us like a collective age under 50, like it's pretty good.
Yeah, you
Wait,
get the pop culture, you get the history.
are
Yeah.
there mostly people participating in that who are older?
No, it's a good mix. Like there's a couple other teams. Like there's a team that's there every other week, that like we're pretty friendly with. Um, and it's like one guy is from Maine, which is really cool. So him and I always talk. And then but they're like in their like late 20s, early 30s, all of them.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
But then like it's really nice when Sophie's like parents and their friends come to trivia with us because then it's like, oh great, we actually have like people who were alive in the 80s.
That will get you far in trivia.
And a guy who knows every episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah, that'll definitely help.
um, but where was I going with this? Oh, I got this beer for free, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna have it and I'm gonna drink it. But like, if I was just going to buy a 6 pack there, Flavor Wave IPA probably wouldn't be like my first beer that
There
I
you go.
choose.
Wouldn't make the cut.
I
Yeah,
like that.
and then I have alcohol abuse, which is like, it's
Pour it
like,
down the drain.
yeah, well, and then I have regret. I feel like regret about it, where it's like you're like shouldn't have drank this. Like, like
It's
that was me with the
yeah.
smoked beer. That was regret.
Well,
You just get
okay.
rid of it.
And I'm sure there can be some crossover too, because I I remember getting free. Actually, it was Victory Brewing, which I've had some stuff that I enjoy from there, and I'm not talking down on it at all.
It's hit or miss, I will say.
I got I got a number of free beer from them for whatever reason. I don't even remember what it was for, and I regretted taking it. So it was free beer that I regretted taking. So there's not a lot of free stuff that I
Wow.
regret.
That's a Yeah, like you feel bad about it, but yeah.
Yeah.
We like where
We'll
do we
workshop it.
yeah, like do we have any
it,
suggestions between daily driver and free beer only? Like
it's kind of like you call it like a Christmas kind of beer, meaning like it comes once a year and you're cool with that.
Oh, I
Christmas
like
beer
that.
or like a
Um,
Happy New Beer?
yeah, I like that one. I like that one. I like that one. Yeah, yes, you got it. Here's the thing: is you got it to try. You've never
Mhm.
had it before, and then it's one of those things that if you had it once a year, you're satisfied. You don't need it again. You're good. I like
Yeah,
that.
'cause
Happy New
I
Beer.
there are some beers like that. Like that Grand Reserve beer I had. I would say that it's Happy New Beer because I got it to
Yeah,
try
once.
and it was a celebratory type beer. Like it's not like I don't think they sell it in 6 packs. It comes in like wine bottles mostly.
Okay.
Like so it's like it's a beer where like you gotta crack it open and like make an event of it,
Well,
Yeah.
because if you drink that more than once, then your head gets a little bit big. That ego gets too inflated.
Hmm.
Well, so I mean, I guess I'm thinking about where we can fit that sponge candy stout, because although it's freaking fantastic, it's one that I want to revisit. I mean, there were multiple notes from that, right? It's one that I would introduce to my family, but it's also I'm I'm
You can't
kind of
drink that
torn.
every day.
You can't drink it every day, but also because that wouldn't make it special to me. that's one that I plan to revisit. Which, oh, by the way, I've put a lot of thought since then. I had mentioned, I think, yeah, it would have been last episode. I had mentioned that it's a beer I want to sit on to think about whether it's one of my favorite beers I've ever had. And
Was it?
I've
Did you
thought
find
about
it?
it a little bit.
Did you find it painful to sit on, or it was okay to sit
Was
on?
it
It
cold or
was.
did it warm up quickly?
It got lost in the couch. No, it was.
We'll call it the couch.
That was my nickname in high school. But I but I genuinely think that, and again, I won't revisit it for a while, but that it was that it might be one of the greater beers that I've had.
That's high praise.
Would it be on your Mount Rush beer, or would it be like,
Oh,
would it be just off?
I can't wait for the Mountain Rush beer episode. That's gonna be a
that's
gonna
gonna
be a
be
tasty one.
so difficult.
Yep.
Because like my thing is with that is I think I think a Mount Rush beer, it's gotta be partially like you have to those have to be at least daily driver beers, like a beer you could drink
Mhm.
every time.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I have some beers on there. Like two of my beers on there are definitely New England beers, 100%. Um, they're beers I literally can't get anywhere else, and I want to get them. Of course they're only sold ever in like pounders, so it's
Right.
like wow, I'm just spending $10 on 4 cans, but by God, is it worth every cent?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean,
Yeah, I you already got the gears turning in my head. It reminded me about that Mount Rush beer and
And again, I think that's something we got to sit on, and like that's got to be in a little bit because again, we're always trying new stuff with this. I think that you know, like I feel like I have three solid spots right now, but a fourth, like I'd have to think on it
it kind of, yeah, I agree. There's a little bit of a turnstile. Yeah.
because
I
and I think with that too, like there's nothing wrong with putting, a macro on there. Like I know we predominantly do craft stuff, but like macro brews do have their place.
Hmm.
I never want to diss that. Like as much as I'm like for me, odds are I'm not gonna buy Miller Lite and keep it in my fridge at all times. But like I'm never gonna be disappointed if I go somewhere and there's that available.
Yeah.
Guinness Guinness I drink a couple times a week. I mean, whether it's I'm out somewhere like at a bar or it's in my fridge. So it's so freaking tough, man. I
It
don't
is.
beer is causing me a lot of stress right now and it normally doesn't.
It's usually meant to alleviate stress, Luke.
Yeah, well, I'll just have some more beer and I'll be fine. But
Yeah. No, but again,
Yeah.
like I don't know, it's hard to say that too, because you do think of Guinness differently because it's like, well, it's not like just like a light beer and stuff. It's like it's a stout. But like in terms of stouts, it's like a pretty light stout.
yeah.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
for sure. For
It's
sure.
but it stands alone. My grandfather, my Irish grandfather, of course, used to say that you drink Guinness to settle an upset stomach. He's like, there's medicinal properties.
Yep. And if I go to the bar with an upset stomach, first thing I'm having is a Guinness, and
Yeah.
it works every time. And I don't know why it works,
Huh.
but it works every time. So
Placebo effect.
probably at this point.
Did I tell you guys I've been on the Murphys recently? I've been drinking the Murphys.
Dude,
Boy,
really? That is so.
boy.
I,
Yeah.
apparently, that's what a lot of, and I've heard this from multiple people who have traveled there. A lot of Irishmen drink Murphy's.
Yeah, it's the big three are Guinness, Murphy's, and Beamish.
Okay. I
And
heard
then like
Beamish.
yeah, Beamish is I think it's a much more like Irish local one, but this a shout out to the Prime Mutton. He's a vlogger that I follow, but he does and he's just this British guy who lives in Manchester. He's a big Man City fan. He does vlogs of games, but he likes to travel as well. And like he lives in England, so like he can just take like a day trip to Ireland randomly.
Right.
But he'll go and he'll review like 8 pints of Guinness, at various pubs.
Eight
Yeah,
pints of Guinness.
it's
I love
it's
it. I
it's
love it.
ridiculous, but it's
I love
amazing.
it.
And like, it's amazing to hear like how they treat that type of beer. Like it's like some places pour it better than others.
Hmm.
There's a right way. In fact, my dad and I just watched this it's around the world in 6 pints, something like that. And in one of the episodes, they had this machine that you can upload a picture into the machine, and it prints the image onto the foam of a Guinness.
I've seen that.
So Luke, we're gonna be doing that when I go to Ireland in April. I'm getting my picture on a Guinness. Life, it's the last thing I do.
Well, I'm going to bankrupt myself trying to find one of those and buying it for my bar because I want that so bad.
That's unreal.
And I think the cool thing with Guinness too is like, have you guys seen the Guinness Nitro Surge, like the little thing, like they make certain cans where it's unnitrogened or whatever, nitrated. Nitrates are bad for you. Pregnant women can't eat those. But they also can't drink beer, so what do I know?
I was gonna say the non-nitrate
Wait.
Guinness is for
They
pregnant women.
can't? No, I'm just kidding.
But it's like you plop it on top of the can and it injects the nitrogen from the air into it, and it's apparently meant to taste like you're drinking draft beer at home, but it's also like a $50 gadget on top of, like already harder to find cans.
Yeah, that might be making it a little difficult.
But it looks cool, and it's always fun. Like Keegan had his nitrogen pour earlier. Like it sounds fun when the ball goes.
Oh,
it does. It's great.
So I love opening up a Guinness can.
I had one out of a bottle recently, like Guinness draft style, like out of a bottle. Does not as good.
It doesn't feel the same.
No,
I mean, it's still Guinness, but you're definitely right in that it is definitely not as good.
And it was one of those things I did it just to try for fun. I'm like, you know what? Like I haven't had one of these in a hot minute. Like, let me try it. And it wasn't as good.
Yeah, can of draft is the only way I'll do it.
Yeah. And do you guys ever do black and tans?
Oh yeah,
love black and tans. Oh my god, they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
I stand by a lot of black and tans.
What about black and mild?
Yeah, baby.
Not as much for me.
Love me some black and mild.
Wood tip jazz could do things to my life.
Well, so I went to Barry's Old Irish before they closed. I think they were, Barry's Old Irish in like Webster, and it was right before they closed. I had not been there, but everybody had talked about how cool it was. And it's this little kind of authentic Irish pub, tiny. So I go in and I'm looking at the menu, and they've got a decent variety, and the vast majority of it is Irish stuff. You'll see your Guinness, you'll see your Magners, and you'll see a bunch of that kind of stuff.
Strongbow, maybe.
Yeah, Bailey's. You'll see a lot. And so, but I'm looking, and they have a chalkboard that has 3 things written out on it. And it has a black and tan. It has what's one of the? I'm trying to think what one of the others are. But anyways, then there was one, I think it was called Snake Bite, which was half Guinness and half Magner's hard cider.
Yeah,
Yep.
Place by Me does that.
It was so good, and it completely opened my eyes to how versatile Guinness can be. How you could just mix it with like blueberry ales, Keegan, blueberry ales. You can mix it with a bunch of crap,
I'm gonna have to give that a shot. Blueberries with it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
At the Place by Me, it's called Mulligan's. It's an Irish pub. They have a great St. Patty's Day celebration every year that I go to. But they do a black cow, so it's Guinness and Spotted Cow, which is like a local beer. Really, really good. They do snake bite and stuff. But the one thing I discovered last year during St. Patrick's season was, which is coming up hot and fast, is P&G bombs. It's a shot of Screwball peanut butter whiskey in a glass of Guinness, and it tastes like a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Wait a minute.
I'm not kidding. It is that may ruin you. Like it's.
Wait a minute.
You feel
that sounds phenomenal.
You feel like a degenerate ordering it, but then you do it and you're like,
well, because I'm a big fan I'll say Irish car bombs, but I believe that's offensive. So I'm gonna say Irish drops.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess you dropped the shot in there. So we'll try to be politically correct with it. But
the Irish style drop shot.
Exactly. And I love they're great. I think they're phenomenal. It's a great beer to get you going. Or a great drink to get you going. So I'll have to try that P&G bomb. I
gotta say, you got me thinking big time here, because I've also seen this cookie dough flavored whiskey that's out there now, and I really want to try doing that with the cookie dough
That's
flavored whiskey.
All right, so Luke's tasting is just going to be bomb shots. No one leaves able to walk.
For about 45 minutes, you guys are just talking normally, and I'm just passed out on my keyboard.
The Luke's silent podcast.
Yeah. Luke naps.
Yeah.
I use you guys as ASMR.
All right, well, I get the wheel set up. Keegan, do you want to phrase your question of the week for everyone?
I do. So last week it was, is a hot dog a sandwich? Which I'll give my personal opinion. Yes, it's a sandwich. It falls under the sandwich umbrella. I think that's a fair statement to make. So, and that poll it should be completed by the time this releases. So we'll take a peek at it. The question of the week this week is water wet?
You suck, dude.
It's a classic debate. I think it has a lot of opportunity for explanation. I myself have had spirited discussions about it. I think it's gonna allow for a good discussion.
Well, I do believe hot dogs are sandwiches. I mean, it's in a bun, just because it's attached, like a Subway sandwich is also attached.
Yep.
So
okay. I'm glad to hear that.
I've changed with the times. Before the question was really explored, I was very much no, it's not a sandwich. But I have over time, unfortunately, had to recognize that it is a meat product in freaking bread. So I can't get too picky.
Yeah, really.
Hey everyone, this is producer Donnie here in post-production. I just wanted to say that during this time there was a glitch in the recording. There were some technical difficulties on my end recording the podcast, and so a couple things cut out here. Main thing being Keegan's question of the week, which is water wet, as well as the start of me spinning the wheel, which landed on Pilsner. Keegan and Luke can verify it. I didn't just make that one up because I like Pilsners. It's a fact. They saw the video. Either way, we look forward to hearing what your opinions on whether or not water is wet, and we'll get back to the episode. So here we have Pilsner.
All right.
Pilsner. All right.
Never a bad Pilsner.
Very broad. Very broad.
I've had some bad ones.
That's true. I guess I shouldn't say that yet. My goal, honestly, because I've liked all the beers we tried, my goal is to find a beer that I absolutely hate. I'm going to try my best.
Really?
I'm going to try my best because I want to hate a beer.
So, guys, that brings me to something I've been waiting to announce, okay? The first episode, we briefly talked about, if we've had beers that we've hated. And I said that my uncle and dad told me that I would hate a beer because they hated the beer. It was a sour that was like
try this beer, it sucks.
Yes. And I found one in the back of my beer fridge when I was clearing it out. There was one left. And whenever we're able to get together, it doesn't matter how old it will be by that time. I think it's only fair that I make you try it too.
That's that. I think that has to be a tier. Is try this beer, it sucks.
Yes,
I think that has to be because it's not a regret beer. It's just like a damn, this beer is awful.
Yeah, but also sometimes there's like you can't describe it. You'd be like, I can't describe why this is bad. It just is.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I like that tier.
But no, I will say with Pilsners, because I'm a big Pilsner fan. I sound like a douchebag talking about them sometimes.
Asshole.
But the thing is, like, they're, because the main styles of Pilsners is you have like a German Pilsner or like a Bavarian Pilsner, Italian Pilsners, Czech Pilsners, and like New Zealand, Australian Pilsners. And I just cannot stand Australian, New Zealand Pilsners. They're like,
what, Donnie, I think they don't like either. For what I'm hearing.
No, my toilet flushes the correct way, so But yeah, so look out for our pilsners next week. I've already got some wheels in the works and works in the wheels. Um, I'm spinning thinking about them right now. And what sucks is one of my favorite beers of all time is a pilsner that you can only get in New Hampshire. So I can't
Oh
bring it to this
no.
podcast.
I'm sorry.
That can be
Unless like
it'll be one of your recommendations.
yeah, it'll be on my Mount Rush beer. Like truth be told, it is on my Mount Rush beer.
I like
Um,
it. I like
but
it.
yeah, look for our weekly recommendations. I think we're each gonna kind of cycle through each week who recommends a couple beers and you know why they like them and try and get it, we're trying to boost engagement. We're working towards a media empire, We're
We're
waiting
just
for
gonna be social media
Sirius
moguls.
XM or
We
iHeartRadio or someone to pick us up.
we don't become moguls overnight.
No.
We're gonna be Dave Portnoy's beer guys in about 3.5 months, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Done. Ship it.
Which I will say as media moguls, I gotta shout out Sophie for making our great logo.
Absolutely.
Um
100%.
that,
I don't know if you can
she
hear me clapping, but claps to Sophie.
yeah, she did an amazing job with that. And I think
Absolutely.
she has some other designs like that she had thought of. Like there were some preliminary drafts that weren't the same that I think could be used for other things, for whenever we get merchandise out the door or whatever.
Can't wait.
Um, but yeah, shout out to the team for making this work.
Woo woo.
Hell yeah.
Takes a village. Takes a
All right.
village.
Cheers, my friends.
Sláinte, brothers.
Blancher
Launcher.
brothers.